Greetings, everyone. This is Terry Naturally with another edition of Terry Talks Nutrition. We're here every weekend, same time, same station. You can't miss us. If you've been with us before, just come on back, same place. Tell your friends, your family, and everyone you can think of that might want, and they sure deserve, better health. How do we get better health? Why are we taking so many drugs? Everybody's on a number of prescriptions. Why? When food is our best medicine. And only food, if it's the right food, of course, a healthy food, a number of those healthy foods that can create our healthy bodies. Now, I have a lot of great subjects today to talk about. But before I get there, I just want to remind you that my passion, if we agree, I have my passion, and I hope that you have a little bit of my passion to bring you the best health possible. There is nothing impossible. Whatever you're challenged with, whatever you're plagued with, whatever your illness is, whatever your sickness is, can be changed. Yes, not with drugs, no, but with food. Food is your best medicine. And we are eating the wrong diet across America. The American diet, known as the Standard American Diet, and that stands for SAD, the SAD diet. But we can change all that. But do you want to? Are you listening just for fun? Are you listening for tips to get healthier and better? Are you looking for the right diet for you? There's only one good healthy diet, and that is plenty of good protein, particularly animal protein. It has the best ratio of the amino acids to build your muscles, your body, your health. And lots of good healthy fats. Omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-9 fatty acids. And we find omega-3 fatty acids mostly in fish. In some animals that are raised on grass-fed, grass-finished. All the good stuff. And omega-9, my best choice for omega-9, because it contains all the the fatty acids and all of the polyphenols that build our body, that protect our body, and improve the health of our body. There's some olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. Remember that, extra virgin olive oil. Get the best grade you can afford. Now, I know everybody doesn't have the same budget, but try to buy with the quality that you can and take less of it. Better to take less of quality than more of inferior. That only makes sense. If you buy a crappy oil and you take a lot of it, it's not going to do you much more than a small amount of the crappy oil. Buy a high-grade quality olive oil and consume anywhere from a teaspoon to a tablespoon. Much better for you. You can get healthier every day. We make choices. You and I both make choices as to how we live, how we eat, what we eat, and how much exercise we get, how much movement. And sometimes it can be as little as 10 minutes a day. Walk down to the mailbox, walk down the street. Better than sitting home and doing nothing. Now, we're coming up to some winter months when you might not be able to get outside. You might be elderly. I don't want you to walk outside gingerly on ice. That's dangerous. Maybe you might want to walk around your house. It might get boring, but do it for 10 minutes. Move. If you sit for 10 minutes more, rather than standing and walking for 10 minutes more, it's going to do more damage. If you're in a 2-story house, walk upstairs and walk downstairs and upstairs and downstairs and upstairs and downstairs. Use what you have available to you to move more. You have a way to do it. You can figure that out. If you have a basement, you have stairs. If you have a 2-story house, you have more stairs. More stairs. Oh, I'm having a bad day today. But you get the idea. I want you to eat a better diet, less carbohydrates, a low carbohydrate diet, and no sugar. You don't need sugar. Sugar is not even a food. You don't need sugar for anything. It's completely void of any nutrient whatsoever. It's only calories. You get nothing from sugar. But diabetes and prediabetes. 97 million Americans have pre-diabetes and do not know it. They're not even aware of it. But there will be a diabetic. And boy, the drug companies love it. Because they're selling a lot more drugs for type 2 diabetes. And they're selling a lot more statin drugs to lower cholesterol. Both are unnecessary if you eat the right diet. Diabetes is optional. You don't need to have it. It's not a disease. It's a metabolic disorder in your body. I want you healthy. Why do I get up in the morning and do this show for you? Because I want you to be healthy. And you can be healthy. There's no reason why you can't be. Now, you may have done some damage along the way. You may now have bone on bone in your knees or your hip or something. Well, some of that damage cannot be undone. You're sandwiched with it. It's part of your life now. But you can get better. You can reduce the inflammation. You can reduce the oxidative stress. You can be much, much more healthy than you are. And the earlier you are, the earlier you start, I should say, you're going to be better off. Keep the youthfulness as long as you possibly can. Some people are in their 80s and 90s and are healthier and look better and have more activity than those in their 40s and 50s. Why? Because it all depends on your choice. What do you choose to eat for breakfast? What do you choose to eat for other meals and your snacks? Are you eating garbage? Garbage doesn't work. You can't survive on garbage. You can't survive on the amount of sugar that each American consumes every day, or all the refined carbohydrates. And even too much of the complex carbohydrates is not good. Start eating more protein to build your body, more natural fats, and less carbohydrates, and absolutely no sugar. Now that takes some discipline, but I think you can do it if you want to. If you want to be healthier, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you can make the choice to eat the better food. Now today we're going to talk about your other good friend, our furry friends, our dogs. I have an Australian Shepherd. She's a little sweetheart. I love her so much. She's going to be 16 in November. She's as healthy as can be. She has no hip dysplasia. She runs like a puppy. She's healthy. She eats well. But I make her choices. And I give her the best food possible. The best of everything. She's part of my family. I take really, really good care of her. And it shows. Her fur is beautiful. Glossy. Really a full body of beautiful black fur. She's an unusual Australian Shepherd. She doesn't have all the spots and the different coloring. She is black. That's why I have her. She was the last of the litter because nobody wanted her because she did not look like an Australian Shepherd. But she's so sweet. I'm so happy that I've had her for 16 years. And I know that I'll have her for another 4 years or 5 years. She's not going anywhere, and neither am I. I'm going to be here to bug you until you get healthy. There's no reason why you can't. And if you can't get healthy, it's because you don't want to. Why do you want to be on drugs? Drugs have side effects. Drugs give you more side effects. They don't cure anything. And they don't get to the root condition. The root condition is getting to what causes the diseases. Like sugar causing type 2 diabetes. You don't need sugar. You need to be healthy. But now we have a really good furry friends. And what really helps your furry friend is omega-3 fatty acids, like fish. That is the same omega-3 fatty acid that's found in mackerel, salmon, sardines. It's a brain food for your dog. Just like humans. A growing young puppy needs omega-3 fatty acids to develop the function of the brain, the central nervous system, and the heart. In the past, when researchers tested adult male dogs with a history of aggressive behavior, what did they find? Well, they found that DHA, omega-3 levels, was 50% lower than in male dogs with no aggression, no behavioral problems, no aggressive problems. Food controls all the functions of the body. Drugs do not. Drugs cancel out the symptoms, cancels out the signs that you have something wrong, but it doesn't cancel out the root cause. Now here's another veterinarian study. 42 dogs with at least one behavioral disorder, such as fearfulness, destructiveness, or aggression, and 6 control dogs. That means no problems, no behavioral disorders. They were normal. Received a supplemental omega-3 fatty acid plus magnesium and zinc for 40 days. The results? The control dogs had no changes in behavior because they did not have a behavioral problem. While the dogs receiving the nutritional supplementation showed significant reduction in destructiveness, fearfulness, inappropriate elimination. Now we try to train dogs. We think they're not trained because they're doing these bad habits. But they're also ingrained in them because of the diet they're eating. In a test of animals who were fed supplemental omega-3 fatty acids, along with phospholipids, that's a very special fat that the body loves, and amino acids called peptides from salmon, or a standard diet. the omega-3 fatty acid group had a 20% greater increase in impulse control versus the standard diet that was consumed by the other animals. Impulse control is what allows your dog to listen when you yell, "Stay," instead of running into the street after a squirrel. Your dog will listen to you when they're well behaved. And for dogs, fish oil is not the best choice for you and for your dog. Most common sources of omega-3 for dogs is liquid fish oil. Most dogs have no problem with fish oil added to their food. But what's wrong with fish oil for you and your dog? Fish oil gets rancid easily, and it's very harshly processed. They find the trash fish. That means it's not edible by humans. Because what's edible for humans can be sold for a higher price. But the trash fish, the garbage fish, are processed for liquid fish oil. They boil it at a very, very high temperature. Why? Because that extra heat loosens up the oil in the body of the fish. And then they squeeze it out in a hydraulic press. They put it into a hydraulic press. They squeeze out all the oil. And that raises a tremendous amount of temperature because of the friction. And every time the oil is exposed to air, it oxidizes. Causes oxidative stress to the oil. It begins to break down. Turns rancid. You gotta be very careful with oils because they really, really could be healthy for us. But the processing of oils is done in a very harsh way. I use an olive oil that is stone ground. Very high in polyphenols. Very high in the omega-9 fatty acids. There is no rancidity. Rancid oils cause problems in themselves. It doesn't help them. And fish oil is often contaminated with heavy metals, toxic metals, like mercury, or toxins, such as PCBs. Oil isn't necessarily for omega-3. You can find a solid dose of omega-3 from salmon. And where do you get the best oil from in the salmon? Not from the body. The body of the salmon contains triglycerides that's bound to the oil. But you want, and I want, salmon oil that's bound to phospholipids, and the phospholipids increase the absorption of the omega-3 fatty acids in the salmon and prevents rancidity, and also contains amino acids called peptides, which is an easy way to extremely stabilize omega-3 fatty acids without needing oil with zero rancidity. And what you want is a level of DHA and EPA for you and for your dog, omega-3 fatty acids. These are components that are found in fish oil. You don't need the oil, but you're taking it because of these components called DHA and EPA. Fish oil supplements almost always have more EPA than DHA. And you should have a 2-to-1 level of DHA to EPA. These are very effective for adults and children. Children can easily take omega-3 fatty acids for brain health, development of their bodies, and also keeps them more calm, more collective, more focused. The brain functions on EPA and DHA. Also, every pure soy with no contaminants with heavy metals or other toxins. There are no toxins in the head of the salmon. That's where the best omega-3 fatty acids come from. In fact, the DHA and the EPA and the peptides and the phospholipids that come from the head of the salmon are exactly the same that we find in the human brain. Just one dose daily for small dogs, maybe 2 for a larger dog, to get them the best omega-3 fatty acids possible. That's what it's all about. Now, as we talked about the brain and omega-3 fatty acids, I want to take a closer look at what we call the blood-brain barrier, BBB, blood-brain barrier. What is that? What is the blood-brain barrier? We don't talk about that very much, but it's a very important function of our body. The brain is the most complex organ in the human body. It contains a network. Get this. It contains a network of over 89 billion neurons. These are specialized cells of the brain and nerves. Neurons control the function of the brain, sending messages that control thoughts and behavior. One neuron can launch up to 1,000 signals a second. The brain is amazing. The brain, however, needs protection from the outside world, meaning the inside of the body, but not in the brain, in the body. So the brain has to be protected from anything that's in the body, like heavy metals, like toxins. The brain is protected from the outside by the skull, and on the inside by the blood-brain barrier. Only few things can pass through the blood-brain barrier to feed nourishment to the brain. The blood-brain barrier is a tightly locked layer of cells, like a filter, that line the blood vessels running through the brain. The blood-brain barrier allows what the brain needs in terms of nourishment to get through, like oxygen, while keeping out what can be harmful to the brain, like bacteria, viruses, toxins. So the blood-brain barrier is to decide what the brain really, really needs and what's harmful to the body, and separate that like a healthy filter. Can natural medicines cross the blood-brain barrier? Generally speaking, yes. Only fat-soluble, small-sized particles can get past the blood-brain barrier. One natural medicine for the brain that is proven to cross the blood-brain barrier is curcumin. Not turmeric, but curcumin, a substance that's taken from the root of turmeric. Researchers looked at the ability of curcumin, blended with turmeric essential oils. This is an oil that can pass the blood-brain barrier to protect against the effects of aluminum toxicity. This was an animal study. because again, exposure to aluminum was associated with a 90% reduction in memory. 90% reduction in memory. And learning test performance that was nearly eliminated by treatment with curcumin and turmeric essential oil. Make sure that you find curcumin with turmeric essential oil to increase the absorption past the blood-brain barrier. I've got lots more, folks, so don't go away. I've got to take a break. I'm looking at the clock on the wall. It says, Terry, the station needs to do some commercials. Pause. So I'm going to pause here. Don't you go away. I'm going to come right back right after this, right here on Terry Talks Nutrition. I'm your host, Terry Naturally. Now, we're back, friends. I hope that you're all here with me. If you had to leave, I understand. But you can always come back next week. We have a lot to share with you. I'm not going anywhere. I love doing what I'm doing. I have a passion for helping people. I have a passion of researching products and finding things that will help you and make you healthier and to bring you the education. Education makes us smarter. And we learn what we need to learn to be healthier. I've had questions from people that I can't believe the question. But I always take time because we all started there somewhere, sometime, that we didn't have all the knowledge that we needed to do the things that we need to do to be healthy. Now I'm talking about the blood-brain barrier. I just talked about exposure to aluminum. And that was associated with a 90% reduction in memory and learning test performance that was nearly eliminated by treatment with curcumin. But the curcumin has to be absorbed. And it's very, very poorly absorbed systemically. So the main purpose is trying to increase the absorption. And the best form they have found today is turmeric essential oil. And when they bind that with curcumin, it increase the absorption by 700%. And then they found that the scores for the group that was exposed to aluminum, but not treated with curcumin and turmeric essential oil, were nearly the same as animals that had not been exposed to aluminum. Now, additionally, brain levels of curcumin were almost 14 times higher in the aluminum turmeric essential oil group than in the group treated with standard curcumin extract. You can buy all forms of curcumin. Believe me, friends, they're not all equal. They're not all alike. They have found ways to improve the absorption and the time that it's exposed in the body. When people take black pepper with products or piperine, it causes a very, very high spike of absorption. But in 2 hours, it's no longer in the body. So you only have about 2 hours of benefits. In the curcumin with turmeric essential oil, it can stay in the body 8 to 12 hours before it maximizes and eliminated from your body. Not 2 hours, almost up to 12 hours in some cases. This is extremely important. So how do you use this very specific, special curcumin with turmeric essential oil? Well, first of all, it comes from the plant turmeric. Turmeric is a spice, and I love it. When I scramble eggs, my eggs look like they're orange. I have so much spice on top of the eggs. Curcumin is the medicine, not the spice. There is so much research. There's over 25,000 studies on curcumin. And it can treat 20 different indications if you get the right curcumin with the turmeric essential oil. And this oil combines to boost absorption in the brain and the body. The level to take is 750 milligrams of curcumin with turmeric essential oil, and that will provide 500 milligrams of curcuminoids. I take 4 capsules daily, but you can start off with 1 or 2. It depends on the individual. This dosage has been used in thousands and thousands of human clinical trials for arthritis, dementia, and more. I would say it's probably one substance that treats the most conditions in the body effectively and successfully. Now, other natural compounds that can cross the blood-brain barrier. And when you do that, you're feeding your brain. The brain tries to keep out the bad things, like toxins, viruses, bacteria, and lets in the good natural compounds, like CoQ10, like resveratrol, and vitamin D. Now, one of my favorite herbs is grape seed extract. Not grapeseed oil. I have so many people call me up and say, or text me and say, where do I find that grapeseed oil? Is grapeseed oil good for me? No, grapeseed oil is not good for you. Grapeseed oil has one of the highest concentration of omega-6 fatty acids. That means it creates oxidative stress and inflammation. But OPCs are the compounds that are found in grape seed extract. Grape seed extract is a powder, not an oil. And it can cross the blood-brain barrier and also help to strengthen the blood-brain barrier. And it's water soluble, so it's much easier to be absorbed systemically. It's as powerful as curcumin. One of my favorites. Now we talked about bacteria getting into the brain. And the blood-brain barrier prevents the bacteria getting into the brain. But not all bacteria is bad. In fact, babies need bacteria. And babies are lacking bacteria. Babies need good bacteria, not the bad bacteria. In a large study, over 400 babies, researchers found that 24% of the newborns, had no detectable levels of bacteria. And the bacteria the babies need is called bifidobacterium. That's a very special probiotic that helps to train the immune system and digest breast milk. It's extremely effective for babies. Now, this is a natural, healthy, good bacteria. What they found out in the same study, babies with no bifidobacterium are 3 times more likely as a baby to develop allergies, asthma, eczema, dry, itchy skin rashes, and they can even actually bleed, than babies with normal bifidobacterium. So we need the good bacteria. And this helps the baby develop a very healthy immune system. So why are babies lacking this very special probiotic? What happened to the bifidobacterium? Babies get probiotics from their mothers through breast milk or virginal birth. Antibiotic use. We try to keep everybody so pure, so clean. I grew up playing in mud and dirt and going fishing and putting worms on hooks and just wiping your hands off on your jeans and eating sandwiches. We weren't pure. This is good to help us to be strong and healthy. But when they have antibiotic use, antibacterial soaps, eating manufactured foods can all reduce the beneficial probiotics. We try to be too healthy. We try to be too clean. We don't need to be clean. We need to be healthy and strong. Now, pregnant and nursing moms, before the baby is delivered, should consider a probiotic throughout the pregnancy, so she has plenty of bacteria to pass on to the infant. The infant will be healthier from the beginning. Now here's a mineral that is so often overlooked, and that mineral is iodine. It's an essential mineral for the metabolism, supporting the thyroid function. The thyroid cannot function without iodine. So I want to discuss the importance of iodine. The thyroid gland, and there are, I would say, about 70% of women who have an abnormal thyroid, primarily hypothyroidism, underactive. And they're taking a synthetic drug that has no value because it's T4 and it cannot produce T3. They hope it does, but it has to be converted in the body, and many people cannot do that. So the thyroid gland concentrates iodine, a mineral. It's not often given to people as a supplement. Now, this iodine is useful in our body to produce the hormones T3 and T4. T3 is the active hormone for the thyroid. T4 is inactive. Synthroid is inactive. These hormones are critical for regulating body weight, energy, activity of the nervous system, and promoting growth and brain maturity in children. Scientific experts have noted that even mild iodine deficiency can slow the metabolism by 15 to 20%. And in severe cases, metabolism slows by as much as 40%. Slow down. And people that have a hypothyroidism, they are slow thinking, slow focusing. Their body is so subnormal. This means that the body is less efficient at burning calories, and the result is weight gain. So today, overall iodine intake has declined by 50%, and children and pregnant women are most at risk for iodine deficiency. So we need to feed the thyroid with iodine. Doctors are all against iodine. They think it's toxic, it'll harm you. They have all kinds of reasons. Well, I think maybe part of the reason is they would rather sell you the drugs, the synthroid, the synthetic hormone. So, according to the FDA, the RDA, the recommended daily allowance for iodine is 150 micrograms daily. Now that's enough to prevent goiter, because people have goiters. in the 50s and 60s, most girls in school, teenage girls, 40% of them had a goiter. That's a growth coming off the thyroid gland because it has not had enough thyroid iodine. So when you take 150 micrograms, that's enough to prevent goiter, but not sufficient to improve health and reverse hypothyroidism to a normal level of function. Now, some of the greatest iodine experts in America recommend 6 milligrams to 12 milligrams of iodine daily for most people. And some doctors will even give a dosage of as high as 50 milligrams for a month or two to really saturate the cells of iodine, and then they'll back off to 3 milligrams to 25 milligrams. Most do really, really well with 12 milligrams to 25 milligrams of iodine. Now that sounds like a lot. But the FDA does not do its research. And some of these recommendations are ancient, decades and decades and decades old, and never been reclassified. So for thyroid conditions, take 15 to 30 milligrams of iodine with 200 milligrams of tyrosine daily, and 150 to 300 micrograms is of selenium. Let me say it again because I don't want to mislead you. For thyroid conditions, take 15 to 30 milligrams of iodine. That's the mineral. And 200 milligrams of L-tyrosine. L-tyrosine is an amino acid. And then 150 to 300 micrograms of selenium. Why this combination? Because this combination will make the hormone of the thyroid gland. So look for these 3 forms of iodine: potassium iodide, sodium iodine, and molecular iodine. The tissue of the breast in women requires molecular iodine. For a low thyroid function, hypothyroidism, thyroid prefers potassium iodide, and sodium iodide enhances iodine absorption. This is to feed your thyroid. People have gone on thyroid medication, synthetic drugs, for years, 20 years, 25 years, and they never felt a difference. They just do it because the doctor keeps pushing it, and the patient doesn't know what to do, so they take it. Nothing has changed. When you get the mineral iodine in one of these forms, in a dosage that is high enough to make a difference, you'll notice a huge difference in your thyroid function. Now I've got some good news. Oh, with a little bit of bad news on your heart health. Now the good news. Here's the good news. Death from heart attacks have declined by 90% since the 1970s. Now for the bad news. Death from other types of heart disease have increased by over 80% in the same time period. Clogged arteries, coronary artery disease, atherosclerosis, poor circulation, swollen ankles, swollen calves, the most common type of heart disease. Not heart attacks, but heart disease is the number one cause of death in the United States. We can change that and hopefully make differences in your life. So we need to keep your arteries clear. There's a combination of nutrients that can prevent the calcium buildup in your arteries that creates plaque. Our arteries get thick inside. The artery is like a hose. And if you don't take care of it, it clogs up with mud, then water won't go through very easily. And calcium gets in the artery and binds to the lining of the artery and slows down the circulation. It narrows the diameter of the internal diameter of the artery. Now, vitamin A, retinol, slows the progression of inflammation leading to heart disease and heart damage and artery damage. Vitamin D3, 5,000 minimum IUs, keeps your arteries flexible, reduces inflammation, blocks a hormone that increases blood vessel constriction, which can lead to increased blood pressure. And 90 micrograms of vitamin K2, menaquinone. What do these nutrients do? Vitamin A, vitamin D3, vitamin K2. What do these do? Now, these should all be taken together, not individually, not one or the other, all three together, because that's the way the research was done. Now, all these three nutrients does not allow calcium to get into the artery to form plaque. It helps direct calcium away from the blood vessels, where it can be led to hardening of the arteries or artery calcification. And it lets the calcium go where it should go, and that is into your bones, where it is most needed for bone density. And a lot of people today who don't take these three nutrients or don't have these three nutrients available in their diet have the calcium go into the arteries, plugs up the arteries, and then the bones become weak and they have osteoporosis. You have to take this combination daily or somehow to get all these three nutrients daily to keep your arteries clean and clear and strong and reduce your risk of dying from heart disease. These are the most instrumental. Also, I'm doing some research on polyphenols from cocoa powder or cacao powder, normally found in chocolate. They can open up the arteries. They get it much easier for blood flow, blood circulation. But I haven't finished enough research to give you the real conclusion of why we should be eating more chocolate. Not so much chocolate bars, but cacao powder or chocolate powder. You'll find about 500 milligrams, but you need about 12,000 milligrams or 1,200 milligrams. You need much larger dosages, and they can only come from the powder, because then you would take a scoop of it somehow in your drink maybe, or coffee or whatever. But this can also help. And the FDA has given them a modified statement to say that it can improve heart disease. So these are things we're looking at to bring to you in the future to help you be healthier. Now, how can you improve your mental health? Easy. Adopt a ketogenic diet for mood and mental function. In a new study, 16 college students with major depression disorders received standard treatment, were placed on a keto diet for 10 weeks. Depression scores dropped by 70%. Every patient improved. And by the end of the study, none of the patients met the criteria to be considered moderately or severely depressed. 15 of the 16 participants had clinically significant weight loss. And also they were able to improve the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, levels that increased 32%. Low levels of this neurotransmitter are associated with increased risk of depression. Leptin levels, the hormone that makes you feel satisfied when you're eating, increased by 52%. They lost weight besides. Cognitive function improved. Participants had better scores on tests of memory, processing speed at the end of the study. The keto diet, a reduction of carbohydrates, and I hope complete avoidance of sugar, good quality animal protein, high quality fats. You'll be amazed how your body will change in a matter of weeks. You'll have a better mood, less depressed, feel healthier, feel happier, have more energy. And with that, my friends, I've got a few seconds to get out of here. So I'm on my way out. So over the next week till I come back to you again, say a prayer for this crazy world. God bless you, my friends. And God bless America.
Thank you for listening to Terry Talks Nutrition Weekly Show. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform, including Apple, Google, and iHeartRadio.